Okay. All right. So, and then these two books here are going to be on collections, okay? And most people have an idea of collectors, heard of collectors, etc., right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, you can keep these books here. If you want one of these, if we can circulate the list to find out who wants one of these, I can get these to them at a later date. That's the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the whole version. But you can also go to the internet, go to ftc.gov. That's ftc.gov, Federal Trade Commission website, and you can order this book free of charge, Fair Credit Reporting Act. Okay? And I would encourage everybody to become familiar with their consumer rights. Jerry modified my little presentation, because I was saying all insurance companies are corrupt, so she said something. I'll work with her on that, okay? And the reason why I say that is because most of us have been through what they call the public school system. I sometimes refer to it as the public food system, because they don't teach you a lot of the necessary information that you need to know, especially when it comes to finance, okay? The less we know about finance, the more money they make, and that's what the game plan is, okay? They want to make money off of our ignorance of the financial institution, okay? When they teach you history, they don't teach you monetary history. They teach you their version, their watered-down version of history, okay? And nothing in there about her story, right? Her story, his story, her story, get it? Right. Go on, you women, you should know that. All right, so what I'm going to share with you today, I kind of intermingle history, monetary, finance, and the credit industry, okay, because they're all interconnected, okay? Now I do, I saw some lady who handed me this card here on, what's this, 899.1? Okay, that's the lady back there. We'll talk about that then, because I do a lot of radio. I haven't been on this station yet. What's your listening audience?
It's a community radio station. We're brand new here in St. Petersburg.
Oh, okay.
So we have a genre, we have a wide genre music. We have rap, we have hip hop, we have reggae. We also have Sunday soul. We have, which I gave you my card because I speak on Mondays from 6 to 7, everything helps.
Okay.
So I mean, it's definitely new underwriting. The manager will certainly be happy to talk to you about an opportunity to inform the public. I have a youth group that I would love to have you come and speak as well, but we can talk offline about that.
Okay.
So that's that.
All right, well, we'll make sure we connect, okay? Before now, I am on some of the more conservative radio talk shows, 1250 AM. Anybody listen to 1250 AM? Huh?
No, I just said we're on the FM dial.
Okay, FM, okay. It's a 1250 AM. Nobody listen to
We
that.
write it down.
Okay, that's more of a
What are you on there?
conservative, middle class, conservative, middle class, white community. Okay, that's the show down on 1250, 102.5 FM The Bone. I'm on there. I'm known as the Credit Magician. I do some WRXP and WTMP as well, but not as much.
Gotcha.
Okay.
We don't
So,
talk.
okay. All right. Now, like I said, like Terry was saying, I started in the industry back in the 80s in insurance agent and did financing as well. But I've always been wanting to study it from a different perspective, because the traditional way that they have you to study things is really to protect the corporations. And I'm not really about protecting the corporations, but that's what they taught us in the public school system and everything else, how to protect the corporations. I go against the grain. That's why we started Credit Restoration Assistance, and we call it CRAP. I do that on purpose to get people's attention, to make you think, well, it's not CRAP, but that's the name that we're giving, okay? It is a unique program, and people need to be familiar with it, especially as consumers. You've got to be familiar with our consumer rights. Most of the time, all the documents, pamphlets I handed out, none of you probably are familiar with any of that information. Fair Credit Reporting Act, Fair Debt Collection Practice Act, Uniform Commercial Code, and on the Uniform Commercial Code, specifically the negotiable instruments section, okay? In this country, they went bankrupt in 1933, okay? That means that in 1913, the Federal Reserve banking system was introduced to this country, and in 1933, this country went bankrupt under House Joint Resolution 192, okay? That means that we went off of a gold standard and we exchanged Federal Reserve notes, which is a direct violation of the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8 and 10. I know I babble off a bunch of stuff there, probably don't mean anything to you all, but it should, because you participate in this economy on a daily basis. You should have some idea of what you're doing when you're dealing with it, okay? There's a lot of loopholes there for us as consumers, a lot of loopholes, if we would just take advantage of it. We always like to play victim. There are no victims, okay? No victims at all, okay? Like, black folks especially, we like to say slavery, we're victims from slavery, but If you go back in history, study history, we enslaved them first. I'm guaranteeing you that, okay? Go to Sheikh Anthony Jacques or any of the black historians, they'll be able to tell you that. But we like to glaze over that because everybody likes to play victim, okay? We're not victims. There's books and information readily available for us to have access to. If we would just go look at that information, we could get rid of that concept of victim and start to use these fictitious institutions, breathe life into them, and make them work for us. And that's what I encourage people to do, okay? That's why I use the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and the Uniform Commercial Code. Dang, when I go back here, it's like you all look like ants. And I don't know if you can be able to read my writing or put something on the board here. You probably will, okay? Ladies shaking their head in the back. Well, I won't use the board as much, okay? Because I usually have a PowerPoint presentation, but my projector is broken. I don't know if the one was available for tonight. But the PowerPoint is boring, okay? And that's when I speak to the larger audiences, because I do go around the country speaking on my services, okay? I am nationwide. But I like to, like I always say, I like to blend the two together so you understand the Federal Reserve banking system and the credit reporting agency is nothing but an extension of the Federal Reserve banking system. If the Federal Reserve banking system is a direct violation of the Constitution, everything that falls underneath it is a direct violation as well of our rights. But we don't have any rights if we don't enforce it. Okay, so don't tell people all you want to tell me about their rights. You don't have no rights until you stand up and fight for them. That's the only way you're going to get your rights. And I mean fight for them. Because this economy is not about you winning. It's about them winning. The majority of the people I speak to around the country have bad credit. Okay? So how many people, let me see, show of hands, how many people here have bad credit? Now most of the time when I go to speak to an audience, I start out with, how many people got bad credit? You don't see nobody's hands, okay? That's okay. So nobody here has bad credit, but I tell you what, I bet each and every one of you know somebody with bad credit. Then you shake your head, yes. Okay? So how many people in here know somebody with bad credit? Everybody's hand should go up, okay? Now, just because you got bad credit don't mean you're a bad person, okay? It does mean that you have tried to participate in this economy and you fell short on some particular occasions, okay? And then they're going to document that on the credit report. Now, in 1970, something happened interesting in this country. The Fair Credit Reporting Act was created. So you don't have that book on the Fair Credit Reporting Act. That's the green one here. Okay, and if you do want a copy, like I said, go to the Federal Trade Commission website, ftc.gov, or you can just ask me and I'll get a hold of one for you, okay? So it's a boring read, though, nevertheless, okay? So and if you don't really know what's going on in commerce, it may not be of any value to you at all. But I've taken this book and I've read through it and I said, okay, let's decipher what I call the hieroglyphs so we can be able to really understand it in layman's terms. Because most of this information is written in what they call legalese. And none of us speak in legalese. If somebody does speak in legalese, let me know. Okay, nobody speaks in legalese. So we just speak common language, okay? That's what I try to interpret these hieroglyphics or this legalese into so you can understand, okay? So with the Fair Credit Reporting Act, we're going to go after, well, it was created in 1970. We're going to use these laws to go after the credit reporting agencies because they violated these laws. But since you're not familiar with these laws, that's how they get away with what they do. Take, for instance, anybody here that has a blemish on their credit report, not even a blemish, anybody here that has any positive or any information on your credit report, and everybody does, I won't even ask them for a show of hands, everybody in there has some documentation on the credit report, be it good or bad or a combination thereof. Whatever the case, did you get everything? Make sure she gets it. Okay. So no matter what combination, you do have information on your credit report. But everything on your credit report has been put there in violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, this document right here. But if you read this, you won't get that indication because it's written in legalese and it's intentionally written to confuse you, okay? So every item on your credit report has been put there in violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And if you have a Social Security number, that means you have a credit report profile, and you should be checking that on a daily, if not hourly basis. Because the credit reporting agencies are putting information on there sometimes that doesn't even belong to you. And they're putting information on there that does belong to you that they really can't put on there. For instance, how many people here have been called by the credit reporting agency? Anybody been called by a credit reporting agency? You've been called? You've been called? Okay, the two that raised their hands probably have bad credit. I'll tell you why. Because it wasn't a credit reporting agency that called you. It was a collection agency that called you, and I will get into that a little bit later. The credit reporting agencies never call you, although they should according to this Fair Credit Reporting Act. They should have constant contact with you because every time you participate in a commercial transaction, they should get your permission to put it on their credit report. Not only get your permission to put it on, but to verify the accuracy thereof. Just because Ford Motor Credit, Bank of America, Visa, or whomever reports information to the credit reporting agency doesn't mean that it's accurate. It only means that the credit reporting agency, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, can retrieve that information and put it in their files. If they're going to distribute that information to the public, that those factual information, the steps they have to follow according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And one step, and primary step, and make sure you understand this, is that they have to contact you to verify the legitimacy of that claim. They have not called anybody in this room, and they never will call you, okay? Because the assumption is, and everybody knows we have children in the room, so we know what happens when we assume, right? Everybody knows that, right? Okay. So we assume that the information is in fact ours. The credit reporting agency has the right to put it on their credit report, and that's the farthest thing from the truth, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Now, assuming, then yeah, okay, the repossession with Bank of America, the tax lien with the IRS, the late payment with the home federal saving, all that information does in fact belong to me, so the credit reporting agency can put it on my file. That's totally untrue. They can retrieve the information, put it in their vault, and tuck it away, but they can't distribute it to anyone unless they verify with you first. They can't do that, folks, okay? But did they teach you that in the school system? Anybody learn that in the school system? No, they didn't. They won't teach you in the school system because the school system is designed to keep you pretty much a slave, okay? That's what it does, okay? They teach you some. I'm not saying that they're just totally horrible. As a matter of fact, some of you may know me. I'm the one that sued Pinellas County back in 1999 for racism of black children. I'm William Crowley. Nobody here knows. Wow, I should be a celebrity. I've been on the news, on CNN, Fox, MSNBC, and even Bay News 9. I sued the Pinellas County School District in 1999 for racism of black children, and the suit is still going on to this day. And the gentleman, the director of the Urban League, took it over because I became frustrated with it back in 2007. But the point, I started homeschooling my children at that time, so I just said, I'm going to take my children out of the public food system and do it myself. And I did a much better job than what they did. But if you're going to have your children in there, make sure that you're participating in there. My lawsuit was because of targeting not only I wanted African history curriculum to be put into the school system, and for the black children to be equally educated. And they're not. But the biggest problem with that is that we as the parents aren't doing what we're supposed to do. So it's really not a dilapidated or outdated public food system. It's the parents that are the biggest problem. Our children had a problem in the school system. But we too busy blaming everybody else, we can't get to the real problem. I know I'll probably step on some people's toes because we love to play victim, okay? We got to get out of that mentality. We'll never get anywhere playing victim. Is it a level playing field? Oh, I agree. But if you consider that, then you're going to consider yourself doomed at the same time. I'm aware that's unlevel, but at the same time, I'm not going to let it stop me. And none of us should, because there's laws in here that can protect us against a lot of this stuff. Against a lot of it. Now, the recent police shooting, that's a different story. Okay, now, I know some of you all can relate to me on that because I think a lot of that is unjust, but nevertheless, some people do retaliate, and that's what happens. But we have to take these laws into our own hands sometimes and enforce them, especially on the financial laws. Okay? So nobody here, I've already established, nobody has been contacted by a credit reporting agency. In 1970, the Fair Credit Reporting Act was created by Congress. And now this country is good from the perspective of giving you the laws to defend yourself. Because the Constitution, which is a replica of the Magna Carta, which is also a replica of, you could say, the 42 Negative Confessions out of ancient Egypt, because ancient Africa is the one that contributed everything to society. Ancient Africa being Egypt, Ethiopia, Nubia, etc., etc., etc. We gave them religion, politics, mathematics, science, and everything. We know that, right?
Yes.
Y'all do know that. Y'all should know that if you don't.
Yes.
And you're not being a racist because it's true. Okay? We taught them. So therefore, if we taught them the bad, we taught them the good, we taught them the bad also. So keep that in mind. We taught them everything. So we need to be instrumental in overturning a lot of this stuff that we've taught them because some of it's counterproductive. So these laws, like I said, the Constitution, replica of the Magna Carta, which is a replica of, you could say, the admissions of Ma'at, if those of you who are in the know. These are laws that we have to start to breathe life into. Because if they don't, in your Bible, I know some of you are Bible readers, right? If not all of you, but in the Bible it says, what does it say? Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed by lack of knowledge. We are destroying ourselves by lack of knowledge because there's information out there, but we're not going after it. or we're not enforcing it. So with this Fair Credit Reporting Act, I created a business enforcing the Fair Credit Reporting Act by letting you know, first of all, that the credit reporting agencies are violating all of your rights as it comes to your credit report. So therefore, you can improve your credit overnight and go out there and start to compete at much reasonable interest rates. And I guess it goes for insurance, job promotion. Everybody looks at your credit report. So you may well have a credit report that looks sort of good, if at all not perfect. Okay. So with this here document, it's a great document, but if you don't enforce it, it's worthless. In here, it stipulates, like I said earlier, the credit reporting agency can't put any information on your credit report without first verifying it with you. But all the information on your credit report has been put there, and they have not verified any of it with you. So what we're going to do now is breathe life into this document here and say, okay, Mr. Credit Reporting Agency, we want you to follow these laws. Now, what are these laws? First of all, I've got my credit's horrible, okay? Mine was, that's how I got into this business, not now, okay? But this is you talking to them, okay? For those of you who have bad credit, I look like everybody here got to have good credit, so you just be sure to tell your friends about what I share with you today, okay? So we're going to take these laws and go after the credit reporting agency, and we're going to tell them you've broken the law, you violated my client's rights, therefore I want these items removed off of the credit report. Now, in saying that, you would automatically assume that, hey, when he comes into my program, he should clean up everything on the credit report. And I tell people, no. Unfortunately, I should be able to, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, but the problem here is that the credit reporting agencies are doing just like the police department are doing when they're out there shooting our children, is that they get to investigate themselves and they come back to us with the results. So that's what the credit reporting agencies are doing, okay? They get to investigate themselves. So we're going to send incriminating information to them and tell them, hey, you messed up. Please investigate yourself and come back to us with the results. But we're persistent with it, so that's why we're probably more successful than a lot of traditional credit repair companies, because we're persistent with it. And we will show you along the way, everything is transparent. We're going to give you all the information to you as we're going along. Because it's public information. I don't have no patent on this information. When Cherry was introducing me, she said I work for a company called ICR, International Credit Card. I get ICS mixed up because I was a computer engineer for ICS in the 80s, and now I worked in the 90s with ICR, which is International Credit Repair. Acronyms are somewhat similar. But International Credit Repair, when they took me on their wing, they taught me everything in the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which was great for me, okay? Now, I moved here in 1994 from Los Angeles, California, grew up in Los Angeles, Oakland. And when I came here, I was a special counsel manager right out there at Crown Auto Dealerships. So I started there in 1994. And in finance, that's what made me start I was dealing with primarily people with bad credit. So the company ICR came to me because I had a ton of people with bad credit. ICR came to me and said, listen, instead of just selling them the information, grab the information back there, Greg. Instead of just selling me the information, instead of just selling people cars at a high interest rate, and I was selling horrible cars at a high interest rate because their credit was bad, okay? So there wasn't no way around it. They wanted a car, I had to make a living, so, the two kind of jive. But at the same time, I said, let me do something, let me just not be a person that's taking advantage of people. Let me try to do something to deal with the situation, these contradictions that exist. So they told me, you got to read this before you become a representative of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. I said, wow, really? I got to read this? So we read it, and then they broke it down to me. And that's what made me so motivated to even do that. That was back in 1998 when I started the credit repair. And it's almost 20 years later, I'm still doing this same thing, because I quit I quit the car dealership and went to do this exclusively on our own. Me and my wife at the time, we're now divorced, but we still work the business together, okay? And so any of you who go through divorce, don't become enemies, okay? Because everybody's got certain skills that you can still work together with. So me and my ex-wife still do this business together to this very day. We've been doing it for 20 years, even though we are divorced, okay? So in strict professional relationships, don't worry. Y'all go through us, don't worry, nothing's gonna happen, okay? It's still a great business. I like to tell people that, because some people say, oh, I didn't know you had a relationship or whatever like that. It's fine, relax, folks. If you're professional and you're mature enough, you can handle stuff like that, okay? And we ain't woman too, don't get that. Okay, so we both, at the time, I was the one really motivated, because she was a teacher at Gibbs High School. Veronica Mack, a math teacher at Gibbs High School. She's the one that was fired because she started teaching the African history and math. And when we met, I told her, well, the Greeks and the Romans didn't create the Pythagorean theorem. It was actually the ancient Egyptians that taught the Greeks and the Romans and the Persians. So she started teaching that, and there was a conflict with her and Miss Shorter at the time, so they booted her out. Which was the best thing for her to get fired from the school system, because we started our own business. We started homeschooling our children and doing everything on our own. And then started reading and doing research and really finding out what they weren't telling us is what's the best thing for us and what they don't tell you. So in this Fair Credit Reporting Act, we're going to go after all the information on your credit report. Of course, the credit reporting agency is going to investigate it, okay? They're going to investigate themselves. But if we're persistent and you follow our program, you should be able to receive about 75 to 85% removal of the information on the credit report. 75 to 85%, which is substantial in this industry, because your score could go up almost 200 to 300 points. Never ever ask me about your score though, okay? Our job is credit restoration assistance, which you may be more familiar with credit repair, okay? But we are going to clean that credit report if you follow our script. We're going to give you all the information that you need, and we encourage you to make copies of it. You may want to open your own credit card someday. I don't have no patent on it. It's public information. It's the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So you can use that information however you want. But we encourage you to use our paperwork and follow it to a T, and you'll see the results, and you can do what you want with it later on. It's transparent here, folks, okay? So that's what differentiates us from your traditional credit repair company. All they do is dispute the negative information on the credit report. That's all they do, what I just shared with you. But even in sharing with you, we do it different. They take and send the disputes for you and make you think that they're doing you a favor. I get people all the time to tell me, well, they mail the stuff off for me. I said, okay, well, if they mail it off for you, why don't you have them to send you a copy of the disputes that they mailed off for you so that you can see what they're saying on your behalf? Because remember, you're the one that's overseeing this project. You just hired them to facilitate some of the administrative work. But nevertheless, you are the one that's overseeing. So we send the information to you, and you mail it to the credit reporting agency, because they will only communicate with you. And in doing that, you will now begin to see how they really operate. We want you to understand this, because I have far bigger and better things to do. I want to overthrow the Federal Reserve banking system. That's my whole objective, okay? Starting with the credit industry and exposing the inconsistencies there is an advantage for me. But nevertheless, when I get up, ultimately I want to crush the Federal Reserve, and then along with that, the credit reporting agencies will go out as well. And then we as a people, we as a group of people, can recreate a whole new system more fair and balanced, because it is unbalanced right now. Okay, that's why I'm in business, because they won't follow the law. This is the first aspect of what we do. And now, in my presentation, I'm always comparing credit repair to my credit restoration assistance. This is where it's going to stop with the credit repair right here, just in the dispute. I'm going to get into collections next, and I'm going to show you they don't even do that. That's what we've added to the service. That's why we call it Credit Restoration Assistance Program. It may confuse some of you all, but just work with me, okay? And I mean, please ask questions if you're unclear on something, and I'll definitely be able to clarify for you. But this first portion is just exclusively about the Fair Credit Reporting Act, okay? We use this document to have information removed off the credit report. That's all we use this document for, because that's all it's for. Is to remove incriminating, derogatory, outdated, negative information off of the credit report that does in fact belong to you. I have to emphasize that, because sometimes people come to me saying, well, this is not mine. I've never seen it. I don't know who this is. I say, okay, well, you're probably a victim of identity theft, and you need to file a police report. Okay? And then the police report can be submitted to the credit reporting agency, and you can have it off there. But make sure that you are a victim of identity theft, because we have some creative people out here that's trying to outdo me by submitting police reports saying that you're a victim of identity theft, and you're not, okay? So just don't do it. You don't have to lie and cheat and steal in this program. They have all the laws here that you can use to your advantage, okay? I mean, the gentleman in the back here, Greg Doss, this is DJ Squid. Hold your hand up back there. That's my buddy. He does a blog talk radio show, and I'm a frequent guest on there, I guess you would say. And we go after the industry a lot more hardcore than what I'm displaying here, okay? But Greg's a constitutionalist, okay? And he knows the Constitution better than almost anybody I know. And if you have cards, Greg, you can definitely pass those out, okay? And get on the radio show.
Support from my co-host, my often co-host. He's a pretty rough guy, but he's a good guy. That's why he had to excuse my address. I actually forgot about it, so busy studying, and I've been delving into this foreclosure stuff as it relates to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And in many instances, I'm learning that the people who are foreclosing on homes are actually not representatives of the bank, but they're actually debt collectors. And a debt collector cannot take your home.
I'm glad you said that.
Get back to Will.
No, look, I can expound.
Actually, I started because of that guy right there.
Yeah, we've worked together for a number of years now, and so we're out to expose the inconsistencies of the industry and the criminality of the criminal nature of the industry, okay? Because not only, I mean, they're shooting kids on the street, but they're doing a lot of stuff in the monetary industry that is just as damaging, and we need to be aware of this, okay? So, with the Fair Credit Reporting Act, that's the document there. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or statements on that Fair Credit Reporting Act? I glazed over, I put it in layman's terms just so you can be able to understand. I don't know how much time I got to.
What time is it? About 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes? Oh yeah, I gotta rush then, okay. Go ahead, sir, you had a question or comment?
Well, you only have 10 minutes. So.
Yeah, I know, I'm glad I said something, because I wasn't sure. Okay, we can catch line up.
No, we'll talk.
Okay. I do like questions out here because sometimes other people in the audience are thinking the same
I'll
thing.
go ahead and ask it.
Okay.
Senator Barbara Boxer, California, has already introduced legislation to strengthen the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Tremendously strengthen it because as you have it there, it's a very weak law, very weak. And if they do things that are wrong, you know, we have to go step 1, step 2, step 3, and set them up for a suit. You can't just say, you got something there, I want to sue. You can't sue the debt collector directly. You have to sue the credit bureau if they're not doing what they're asked to do, because you have to send your dispute first to the credit bureau.
Yeah.
And
Experience factoring.
yeah, and you know, I've read that. But Barbara Boxer out of California has already introduced legislation. I'm hoping that it's going to be passed soon that will tremendously strengthen what you have presented.
I sure hope so, but now you said two things there. The Fair Credit Reporting Act deals with just the disputing nature with the credit reporting agencies, okay? And it's difficult to sue the credit reporting agency. They have deep pockets, okay? But collectors are a different thing. Now that's the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that would deal with the collectors, okay? So when people are talking about suing collectors, you're not talking about the same thing. You're suing the credit agencies and suing collectors are two different things, okay? Hopefully she will, that law that she has talked about is going to be used. But the biggest problem here is as long as the credit reporting agencies are investigating themselves, that's the ultimate problem. She can reenact new laws or whatever, but we need an independent agency investigating the credit reporting agency. That's what we really need. And until these politicians can do that, we the people are going to take the matter into our own hands. They cannot investigate themselves. That's the biggest problem. I could have a 100% success ratio instead of 75 to 85% if we could get an independent agency to know that, look, they're violating the Fair Credit Reporting Act. We know that they're violating it, okay? But the credit reporting agencies are the ones that are just ignoring it and playing games with it. That's the biggest problem. Now, I didn't say anything about suit. Oh, you want to say something? Make sure I have 10 minutes now.
Okay, yeah, no.
Oh, you can go
In
longer.
response
You can
to your statement about the proposed legislation, I happened to get a copy of an amicus brief, which I've been kind of going through, and I've been reading over, because I happen to acquire some homes recently. And you may actually have as an independent agent in action against whomever. You keep saying you can't sue the bureau, you have to go to the person individually, but you can, because you can state that you actually have I'm reading here, it's called a concrete claim against the person bringing the action against you within Article 3.7, and that's a federal court. But anybody wants a copy of the brief that I read, and I find this actually interesting, believe it or not, as well as sports, which we have a sports show also.
Right.
But if you want a copy of it, just send an inquiry to gregdawson@gregdawson.com. We have no problem. Gregdawson@gregdawson.com, because I'm melanated, you know, my Greg only has one G, right? But anyway,
All right.
so gregdawson@gregdawson.com. But anything that you want relative to the information that we have, we try to share with people, because we become much stronger as a community when more of us know. God, Delta, Oscar, Sierra.
Go ahead.
I don't have a personal question.
Oh, okay.
Because of
Time
time,
right now.
and we would have to sit down a couple of hours with my issues, but what I want to say in general.
Not that long, probably, but go ahead.
We get so excited when we hear you could get your free credit report. I did that, I did it twice. and I got all these credit reports, and I'm seeing all of this stuff, and I'm like, oh God, this isn't right, this was from 1980, they got me with an address that I never had, you know. All this information to us is overwhelming. You know, and it makes us feel like the victim.
Right.
You know, where do I begin?
Yeah, that's why I want to simplify. That's why I tell people, you can read the Fair Credit Reporting Act, but let me put it in layman's terms. Bottom line is that you won't be with me for hours because I don't need to hear the stories. When I tell people, I do a meeting right here in Pinellas Park every Monday at 7 p.m. It's a real estate investors meeting, okay? We've been doing it for the last 15 years. It's predominantly white folks. I'm trying to get more people, melanated people out there. I don't know why y'all don't come out. But you could come out. It's right there in Pinellas Park on 49th and Park. Every Monday for the last 15 years, we've been running a real estate investor meeting. I'm known as the credit magician. I answer all the questions for some of the top real estate advisors around the country. But I saved that meeting as well as this one. Don't sit me down and tell me your stories about what happened with the credit reporting agency. I don't need to know that. I don't care about that. Those stories are supposed to be shared with the credit reporting agency when they call to verify the information according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Since they didn't do that, that's not my motivation. My motivation, oh, you have negative? Great, let's attack it. Let's get as much off your credit report as possible. I don't need to know the stories. So please don't tell me the stories, folks. I talk to people around the country on a daily basis. All I want to know is the credit report, let me see it, and let's go after it, okay? Now, there's a couple different agencies you can go after. Since you didn't mention that, there's Credit Karma is one. They only give you TransUnion and Equifax, but it is free, okay? There's another one called annualcreditreport.com. It does give you all three, but they make you jump through hoops to get all three. I usually recommend Credit Karma because it does give you TransUnion and Equifax, and I can just duplicate the information off those two and put on Equifax on the first cycle, and then they'll start to give you the newly revised credit reports thereafter from that, okay? Now, let me get into the collection because this is probably the most important part of my presentation here, and I talk on Greg's show extensively about the collection agency, which traditional credit repair companies don't get into at all. Okay, these are the two books that I recommend, okay? I'm just going to read it to you. I'm not going to pass it around because the last time I didn't get my book back. Bad Paper, The Inside Secret World of Debt Collectors, and then The Secret World of Debt Collection. These two here, I've been saying this for years. These books have just recently come out. You know where to get them at? Just say it now.
Well, the easiest place, because I even share with my sons and my daughters, is you go to Kindle and you can Will pick out 800 books.
Yeah, I'm a book.
You know, and trust me, it is expensive. When he's talking on the show, I start ordering books, and then I start looking at my credit card. Yeah, I ordered it.
Okay, so Kindle, Kindle, that's where you can go to get it. I have over 6,000 books, and Greg's seen them. I like the books, okay? I'm an avid reader, and I read information, not that traditional crap that we traditionally read. I read not outdated, but controversial information that doesn't make sense to most of us. That's the books I want. I don't need your traditional nonsense, okay? Because all that information does just indoctrinate you to be the fool and the stooge for the system that the system is already. They need the fools and stooges just to